Let's talk about the nuance of maximum cursed energy output in JJK. And yeah, we're diving deep into the weeds on today's Juju Stroll, brought to you by John, who sent in and said that he was actually working on developing a game for the Discord. So that has me really excited. But he was curious about some of the nuanced mechanics of just how this cursed energy output stuff works in JJK. So let's talk about it. But the first thing I'll say is that with a lot of stuff in JJK, it all is pretty nebulous. So we can kind of just take our best crack at what we think is going on here. It's never explicitly spelled out. But first and foremost, what is maximum output? Well, like Gojo's maximum output blue, it simply means that you are channeling the maximum amount of cursed energy that you can through your curse technique. Now, this is not the same thing as a maximum technique like Geto's maximum Uzumaki, because that has nothing to do with the amount of cursed energy being used. It just has a new facet of the curse technique. Like maximum Uzumaki is an entirely new facet of curse spirit manipulation, whereas maximum output blue isn't a new facet of the limitless. It's just referencing the amount of cursed energy being funneled through blue. So I hope that makes sense. But now, what's actually limiting something on the maximum output? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, we basically got three players in this equation, right? You have the sorcerer themselves, and to keep this simple, we're just going to use Gojo as the example. So we have Gojo is at his maximum output as a sorcerer that's being referenced. We have the system, if I can call it that, which we'll just call like the process by which a sorcerer funnels cursed energy through their technique. That system may have some sort of cap, right? Or finally, is it the appliance, or the specific facet of the curse technique being used? Which of those three things is actually determining that maximum output, right? Okay, so first, we can safely say that it's not Gojo. So, for example, let's say that Gojo has, we'll use simple numbers here, 100 curse energy. Okay, that's his curse energy reserves at 100. So, if the maximum was based on that number, then that means when he used maximum output blue, he's using 100, or at least however much he has left of his cursed energy to funnel through that, right? But that's not the case. It can't be, because if it was, that would mean after Gojo did that, he would be completely depleted and exhausted. He wouldn't be able to fight anymore, right? Because he would be out of cursed energy. But clearly that's not the case, because he continues fighting, and we see basically every time somebody uses a maximum output, they continue fighting afterwards, okay? So that means it can't be based on the sorcerer's cursed energy pool, which means it's either got to be the system or the appliance, right? So either there is just some fundamental limit on how much cursed energy at any given time you can funnel through the system of your curse technique, right? Meaning the limitless, let's just say it has a cap of 50 cursed energy. So if Gojo channels half of his cursed energy pool into it, that will activate maximum output, right? And that's across all techniques, blue, red, purple, the infinity, etc., right? So it could be that. And in an analogy, you could think of this as like if a vacuum's plugged into the wall, the limiting factor is the output from the outlet and not the vacuum itself. So that could be how it works. But finally, in my opinion, I think it's most likely the facet of the curse technique itself, or the vacuum in this example. Meaning, blue may just have a maximum use of 10 cursed energy. So of Gojo's 100, the maximum he could pump into any given use of it would be 10. And you could think of it like, he didn't have to use 10, he could do 5, he could do 1, right? And in a vacuum, you could think of it on like low power versus max power. So I don't know if I'm losing the plot here, but my opinion is it is that third example, that it's most likely just a limit baked in to the facet of the curse technique itself. So blue may have a maximum output of 10, purple might have 25 for whatever reason, everyone's curse technique may vary. But the thing I think we can say for sure is that it's not based on the sorcerer's maximum cursed energy reserves. Another character that might help illustrate this would be Ryu Ishigori, who is said to have historically high output, right? And yet his cursed energy reserves were never commented on for being abnormally high, which shows that there's no connection there, right? So the reason that Ryu had such fantastic output was either just based on his like natural born systems output limit, like he might have just been born with a higher capacity to compared to other people, or because of Granite Blast's specific output limit, right? So again, John, I don't know what exactly type of game you're making, but in my opinion, in order to be the most fair, I would just say that there's like a, you know, regardless of whatever everyone's reserves are, that there's probably just some sort of limit across all characters in terms of output they can do on any given attack. And then John asked me about how hand signs and chants interact with maximum outputs, because we know that hand signs and chants can increase your output, right? So how exactly is that happening? And there's basically two options. Either hand signs and chants increase the maximum output you can use. So for example, if your maximum output is 10 through blue, then by hand signs and chants, maybe now you can use 20, right? Or they just increase the efficiency of your 10. Meaning they don't raise the limit, you're still just using 10, but now that 10 actually is worth 20, if that makes sense. And in my opinion, I think it's the latter, just because I think that's more clean with what we've already been talking about. Because if you are born with some natural output limits on the system or on the technique, then it doesn't make sense that those would just increase with hand signs and chants. I think it just makes more sense that you get more bang for your buck with your natural limit, but just my opinion. Then next up on our Juju stroll today, Ghosto sent me in this comment talking about some ideas he had for Nobara's potential. Starting with, it would be cool if she was able to develop her telekinesis with her projectiles to the extent where she could control their trajectories a bit more and perhaps even cause them to ricochet, which I agree that would be really cool. But then on top of that, he has an idea for her domain expansion, saying that it would be cool if it had like some sort of totem pole in the middle that basically when she struck it would cause resonance to everyone within the domain, basically giving her massive AoE. And I love this idea. And Gusto Stevens says if she could somehow develop an open domain, then the potential there would be nuts, right? Because she could have, you know, if Sukin is any indication, perhaps even like a 200-meter radius resonance, just clocking everybody within it. So I think that's really fun. And Ghost, in case you didn't see, a couple weeks ago, I put out a video talking about some of the various ideas people had for Nobara's full potential. So I go more in depth on some of the fun concepts there, but I love your ideas. Anyways, y'all, that's gonna do it for this one, but I did want to get y'all's opinion on these longer Juju stroll videos, because for the most part, they've been shorter, right? Just quick minute, 2-minute videos while I'm on my walks. But like this one is probably gonna be around 8 minutes, which means it'll be like a long form video on YouTube as opposed to a short. So I just wanted to see if y'all were okay with the longer Juju strolls occasionally, or if you really would prefer not for them to be long, because I know the production's a bit worse with like wind blowing and background noise and all that jazz. So, you know, I don't plan on changing my content style to this. You know, it'll usually be the other way, but just wanted to see what you guys thought. Like, you know, if you were okay with this or if you would prefer these types to be kept short, just let me know. But as always, thanks for watching.